are.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara,
I'm Tiffany.
and Ron is out. He is just coming back from a nice vacation, so he is enjoying his time off, and we love that for him. So we are going to hold it down in his absence. But today we are talking Bel Air. So today we're going to actually talk about episodes 2 and 3. So before we get started, please make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you like that, click that notification bell and that like button as well. All those things help support our channel and keep us going. So we appreciate all of the love and support so far. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and kick things off. So Bel Air 302, that one was titled Pivot. So, it's a lot going on in the Banks household, as we seen with the first episode. But Carlton and Will are under even more pressure now to get this business off the floor. They have been given a time constraint now. So they really got to get things up and running. And, Will, he really does have a reputation of being good under the gun and kind of like being a last minute person that can make things happen. But it doesn't kind of start off that way. They've been pushed into these country club jobs as the pit pigs, which I thought that was a funny name.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the classmates, they're really worried about the perception. Like, oh, I don't want to be looked at as pit pigs or whatever. But Will was looking at it more like the people that come here, we need to network. And I was like, I'm not mad at that.
No, get it out the mud and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because, Carlton and them, they're not used to working.
Yeah,
They're not
that's
used
true.
to working. And, finally, um, Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv put their foot down and say, hey, it's time for y'all to get a job, know how it
Yeah.
feels to like really work. But I think Will coming from, Philly and stuff, and he hasn't really, he's just now getting accustomed to Bel Air life.
Mm-hmm.
Carlton has had a silver spoon in his mouth.
Yep.
So I think it's definitely more of an adjustment for Carlton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think Carlton is taking the job itself a little bit more seriously than Will. With Will is like, I'm just here for the contacts. And they're I guess he's the supervisor or the manager of the pit pigs or whatever. He's kind of like, on their case about not fraternizing with people and whatnot. But then I like that him and Will kind of came to a common ground later on. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
they see eye to eye because they both come from like that. They talk about how they came from that split background where they're splitting their time between their neighborhood that they come from versus this upscale bougie lifestyle that they're surrounded by. And it kind of made me think of All American, because that show got to play both sides. And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that must be a real common thing out there in the West Coast.
You got a code switch, period. Like, and,
Mm-hmm.
and like, and I think that's the assumption that dude made. He made the assumption that they were both like just privileged rich
Yeah,
kids and stuff like that, and that's who you will, like, you don't know me and stuff. And
right.
then what told him, like, oh, and that's why you can't make assumptions about people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm glad that they kind of worked that situation out. But Uncle Phil also had this opening for his firm, and they had this big gathering. And I really love that, they had all of these heavy hitters in the room, like all of these black successful CEOs. We talking
Byron
billionaires.
Allen,
Okay.
and stuff. I was like, wow, yeah, they
Yes.
definitely have heavy hitters.
Big money in the building. And I was like, okay, that was like an amazing opportunity for them to get in there and hear from these CEOs about how they got it out the mud, how they started their businesses, and what it takes to, build an empire. And so I was like, they're privileged, but they are taking advantage of their contacts. They're not squandering their relationships.
Right, but how many people have the
It,
opportunity to be in the same room as Byron Allen and everything? So that within itself is a privilege,
yeah, they got
But
the cheat code.
they got the cheat code. But what I do appreciate is that because they were stuck for an idea and they were under the gun, because Quentin was gonna be like, hey, y'all got 48 hours, or you're gonna have to
Mhm.
move on. We're gonna have to move on. And so they were pressured to come up with an idea to pitch. And I think um, networking with all of these heavy hitters helped them come up with the idea.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why I was like, I really like when they finally did get their idea, how excited they were to go and tell Quentin. And so they were talking about this brand that they want to build of lifestyle and podcasts and merch and stuff like that. But it's kind of like to put their messaging out, but also to support and give back to local Black businesses. And I was like, okay, I feel like that's something that a lot of people can get behind. So Black Set was it Black Cess?
Black Cess. Black Cess.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I don't know. The name got to grow on me a little bit, but I wasn't
Right,
mad at
right, right.
it. Yeah. And, I thought that Will might have been a little discouraged at first because when Carlton's little buddy, his classmate, and his stepfather pulled up, stepfather, was offering contacts because he worked at Google. But then behind Will's back, he was talking about, oh, he just needs to keep playing basketball. And I was like, he gets the
Mm-hmm.
hands.
Yeah, he gets the hands. And then
Classmate
they were,
and his stepdad, they can both get it.
yeah, and then the way he was interacting with Carlton and stuff, it was something that was just disingenuous to me, the way he was
Yeah.
interacting with
Yeah.
Carlton as well.
Yeah, I was definitely still worried for Carlton because we know he's still on shaky grounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like now that he stepped back out into the public eye, everybody's like, "Oh, you're back. Like, how are you? Like, how are things?" But it's like it doesn't seem like they're like asking because they genuinely care about him. It's more like they just trying to be nosy. And so I was like, I wonder if Carlton, how long can he keep taking like all of those questioning, like, "Oh, how are you? How are things? Oh, you're back." Like, it seems like he didn't really enjoy that spotlight.
Mm-mm.
He also had a run in at the I guess I don't know if it's AA meeting, but I guess it was more of like a sobriety meeting in general. And
Yeah.
he had the wrong intentions. He was going there chasing after Amira.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to which, I don't know how you felt about her response, but I was like, I don't know. She got really upset that he showed up to her particular meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Aunt Viv obviously rubbed her the wrong way when she attended
Yeah.
the Juneteenth party. But I was
Yeah.
like, dang, that wasn't Carlton's fault that his mom responded that way. But to me,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like Amira took it out on Carlton that his mom responded to her that way. And I was like, dang, she really was pissed to see him there.
I think it was twofold. I think she took it out on him. I guess she felt like you could go to any sponsors meeting, and are you here for the right reason? Like you should be here to sober up and stuff. So on one hand, she was saying that, but on the other hand, I think she was taking out on him about his mom's reaction. But I'm kind of glad that they did you know, tell him that, because when we saw him again and he started sharing,
Mm-hmm.
he was moved. The people were moved by what he said. He talked about how he felt alone. And they told him, he's like, look around, the sponsor or the leader of the group was like, you're not alone and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was good to see that, let him know that he had other support.
Yeah, but as I think, Amira kind of seen, like you said, that okay, he is here, for the right reason now. He's actually
Mhm.
expressing himself. And so that's when they kind of reconciled at the end. But you could see the sponsor like eyeing them. And I was like, what he up to?
And
What is he about to do?
he probably don't want them to fraternize. Because when I saw him looking, I thought the same thing. I was like, because he probably has the same concerns. Like, okay, are they gonna be good for each other? For each other's sobriety
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So he probably has the same concerns that Aunt Viv does. But as the
Yeah.
leader, probably like, they fraternizing or maybe questioning his intentions too. Like, is he really here for the right reasons?
Right. Yeah. So I hope Carlton can stay on track and keep attending those meetings. Um, and doing it for the right reason, obviously. But it's like he's gonna, like you said last week, have a lifelong battle with this. It's not something that you just gonna magically get over overnight. So I hope he still gets the support he needs and that he's not, triggered to revert back to his old ways.
Hmm.
Um, Especially with the pressure that they're under with this new business and these ventures and stuff. And him obviously having a new job and stuff too. So
Hmm.
let's pray for Carlton.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure.
um, I wanted to talk a little bit about Miss Hillary too, because she was kind of forced into a situation with some little pressure from Ashley to go and see Jazz. And that you said last week that she wasn't over him, and you were absolutely right, because her situation with DeMarcus, it seemed like she's just doing it to force herself to get over the situation. And it doesn't seem like she has the genuine connection with him that she has with Jazz. And I
Hmm.
think Ashley really pointed that out to her. But Hillary seems like she's really trying to ignore the fact that she's not over Jazz. So they go to his record store, but they also find out that Jazz is in a little hot water with, his bills, unable to pay the taxes on his business. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, is this gonna be a situation like in Soul Food where Bird tried to help out Lim?
Yeah, and it was because she tried to help, and it was obvious to Jazz why Uncle Phil was offering to help. So
Yeah.
yeah, she had something to do with it. She yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know if this is gonna blow up in her face. Well, it actually did. And Jazz is, he's one of those people that is too prideful to take the charity. He don't want handouts and stuff like that, which you understand when you're trying to carry on a family legacy and you're trying to prove something to yourself and to your community and whatnot. And I get that. But also they're battling gentrification in the area. And we
Right.
see how that can destroy, you know, communities and mom and pop shops and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So
Especially
I was like, he's fighting a losing battle here.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hope at some point that Jazz, does kind of take some help, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next
Yeah.
episode
Yeah. I was
when we
great.
get to episode 3. Um, but Hillary, as far as she's concerned with her emotions, we're gonna talk more about that too for episode 3. She's got to make a decision on where she wants to be, who she wants to be with. She just seems so indecisive to me.
Very wishy-washy. And I'm like, I don't she ain't getting married. She ain't marrying that dude. And even Ashley said it. You ain't marrying that dude. She's not. She's
Right.
not being over Jazz. She kissed Jazz. She's not over him. She's not over him.
Mm-mm.
And it's not gonna work. And
Yeah.
I think it's like uh Ashley and them said it, like their family, and we talked about it last episode. They are obsessed with like appearances and stuff,
Yeah.
and I think the Marcus or whatever fits an appearance,
The picture. Yep.
a picture, because he's this great football player. He's famous. He has money. He can whisk her away for a month to Paris and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Jazz may not have the money, but he does ground her, and
Yep.
you do want somebody who can push you, and someone who's gonna love you for you, and they're gonna tell
Mm-hmm.
you the real,
Yep.
good or good or
Exactly.
bad. And that's what I appreciate about Jazz. Like I know that he cares for Hillary, but he gonna say what needs to be said,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I do appreciate that about them.
Yeah, I do too. It's a lot of tests of loyalty in this episode. Hillary is being tested. Will also, because lo and behold, Jackie pops back up. He's trying to get things back on track with Lisa, and here comes Jackie. In the house asking Aunt Viv for a letter of recommendation for stuff, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
Aunt Viv is being messy too. Like,
messy.
and not saying that she don't want to help, and it's nothing wrong with her wanting to help. But at the same time, it's like
Yeah,
you
she
know the connection with Lisa and stuff too. And I mean, I don't know. That's kind of messy.
Yeah, we can talk about that more when we get to episode 3.
Great.
But
Uh-huh.
you know, Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv have their own mess going on, which I'm like, she might be distracted by that too, because she's very busy with the art world and being busy in her business ventures. Then Phil has this big opening to which he dropped the ball on the catering, and she has to pick up, and she finds this caterer who's
Mm-hmm.
obviously, is very interested, flirting with her and whatnot. And I was like, ooh, I can
Mm-hmm.
see this pot about to boil over. Trouble
Yes,
is
it
brewing.
is. And very easy on the eyes. Very easy on the eyes.
Yep.
And, you know, both of them have been tested. Like she's gonna be tested with this man. And of course, Phil has been tested with
With Erica.
Erica from work. And Erica, I want to put her on the hands list too.
Yeah, because I was like, just because you are carrying this secret or whatever, if you were going to keep the secret, then agree to that with Phil. Don't be so obvious with the fact that there's something going on. Like when she was drinking at the event, she obviously had too much to drink, but she was just dodging Viv left and right. And it's like it makes it appear like something's up.
Right. And I don't know if I trust that. You know, because when they were like kissy poo, Viv and Uncle Phil, she was over there watching them, and I was like, she seemed envious, and
Mm,
I feel like, yeah, she may have had a lot to drink and stuff, and maybe her conscience was bothering her, but I feel like she wanted to spill the beans anyway, like maybe she wanted to put a chink in the armor of their relationship because this woman has been Aunt Viv's nemesis. Like they supposedly
right.
made up or whatever. But I was like, well, she looked like you know, she watching from the sideline. She on the sideline watching and everything. And I think that's why she wanted him to work for her. So he can be
But
close.
see, stuff like that it never ends well. Like mixing business and pleasure. It's like, okay, so y'all, if worst case scenario, y'all have this affair, things go left, you still got to see this man every single day at work. Like, come on.
Right.
And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to pursue anything like that, even if the kiss was innocent or whatever. Like, just leave, like Phil said, leave it behind and move on.
Well, this is where some men messing up too, because women, we like CIA and stuff, and we pick up on
Mm-hmm.
things, pick up on
Everything.
patterns, we pick up on everything, the things we know your patterns, all of that, and so all of a sudden you tell Viv that working at her firm is bringing in all this business. Now you taking cases out, you switching up. So it's like which is it? So
Yep.
now you got Aunt Viv thinking, and it don't
Yep.
take to get us thinking. So I was just like, oh, I said, you making yourself look suspect when he started
Mm-hmm.
making those moves. And I was like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, you inviting questions.
Oh
You
yeah.
are inviting questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I want to talk more about that situation when we get to the next episode. But to
Mm.
close things out for episode 2, the last thing was, this whole thing with Jeffrey bringing his son into town. So Frederick is here, and we're trying to figure out like what's up with him. He's obviously like a little shady, and we don't think at this point that he's aware of Jeffrey's past. But at some point, Jeffrey does reveal to Frederick, like, yeah, I was, involved with this, street organization. I was like the number 2. I was really high up in the ranks. And it came down to it between my boss and me, and I chose myself. And so he's like revealing that people are now after him for what he did to his boss. And obviously that makes Frederick a target as well. But I was side eyeing Frederick, like, are you working for the ops?
Me too. Because I was like, who was he calling?
Exactly.
Oh, who was he
And
talking to?
telling them that Jeffrey doesn't know and he's not on to
Yeah.
him that. And I was really glad that Will was there to pick up on that conversation, because here Jeffrey is trying to protect this dude, and this dude is obviously out for Jeffrey. So I'm like, I don't know if he feels abandoned or something like that, or he has some kind of vendetta against his dad, but it's like, he won't
But
really
he
even
did
acknowledge him
because
as his dad.
yeah, because I think Jeffrey wasn't a part of his life. Because remember last season,
Hmm.
there was yeah, I think Jeffrey wasn't really active in his life and stuff, so he did not trust Jeffrey, and that's probably part of the reason why he is, you know, probably backstabbing Jeffrey
Hmm.
and everything. He
Yeah.
probably is working with the ops.
I'm assuming he's been fed a different story.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Mm.
And hopefully he'll come around because he's right now the way he's moving. And we talked about that last. Remember we talked about Jeffrey. We talked about we thought that he had another side, a dark side, and
Yep.
everything. So we're starting to learn more about
The
Jeffrey's
truth.
background.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of wraps up episode 2. Most of the talking points there, and now we can try and transition into episode 3.
Mhm.
This episode kind of picks up with more of Will and Carlton. It's called True Colors, and I think fitting something some people showed their true colors,
Mhm.
especially Frederick, which we got to see more about who he really is when Will and Carlton, they are trying to work with Jazz to save Jazz's business. And so
Mhm.
they come up with the idea like, hey, let's go to this car show and let's promote the brand. Let's get our name out there. Let's let everybody know what our cause is. And for our first, business that we want to help, let's let people know that it's a mom and pop shop. Like, this is a local business, been in the community for years, and we're trying to save it. And so I was like, okay, that's a good idea. And it seemed like a lot of people were receptive. So,
Mhm.
the merch and everything and the branding and them going out and recruiting Jackie and Lisa to also be kind of, the face of things. The women always gonna catch the guys' attention anyway. And
Mhm.
Jackie is a very outgoing personality. So, she definitely was being helpful, maybe a little too helpful.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
How
as we
about a mirror?
seen,
How about a mirror? Like basically instigate.
stirring the pot. Yes. I wanted to give Amira the hands. I'm not even gonna front.
I did too. I was just like, I think you think you're helping, but you don't even know them yet. Like you just really coming on the scene, and then you got, I mean, um, Lisa already stressed because she training for the national championship and stuff like that, so she got
Mm-hmm.
that pressure already, and
Yep.
then she got the no labels pressure with Will and stuff, and that could be that can
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that could be
Touchy.
challenging when you don't have boundaries and parameters and stuff, and then you see Jackie, somebody he used to mess with, all of a sudden she's inserting herself, and
Yep.
when Lisa erupted like that, I was like,
Oh yeah. I mean, because I think that was the final straw for her. First, it was the thing with Aunt Viv, which we already said Aunt Viv was being real messy. I'm gonna
mm-hmm.
give her an honorable mention on the hands list
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah, yep.
bringing all of them together to work at the same place. And
Mm-hmm.
so then it's like that was the first thing. Then it was Jackie, basically inviting herself to the event to help promote and wear the merch and whatnot. Then
Mm-hmm.
she goes out and she's out here, just helping Will, pulling him aside at left and right, left and right. She's pulling him aside. And then at the end of the night, she's still trying to tag along and go to this burger joint. And Jackie's just like, doing too much in Lisa's eyes. And I see
Mm-hmm.
why she exploded. It was one of
Yeah.
those moments where you say what you're thinking out loud.
Mhm. Yeah,
It
but
sounds like,
see, that's why that's when you know too. I mean, she was doing too much. She was doing too much. But this is why some people can't handle the no labels thing.
yep.
Because if you are not officially his girlfriend, do you have the space should you be barking and stepping to another chick about somebody who ain't really officially your boyfriend? You said y'all have no label. Y'all kicking it right now. So that's the challenge sometimes, like, for us women, men too. But when we get into the no labels relationships, because people end up having feelings, they have expectations and
Mhm.
stuff, and they get bothered by these things. and everything.
Yep,
So I
that's why
think that
I ain't never played them type of games. Either
the
we
gray
together
area,
or we
yeah,
not.
people get hurt behind that, emotionally and physically. But
Exactly.
yeah, because it's like, wait, and you see, she erupted, and Will was just like, in his eyes, he probably didn't think nothing was wrong. He's just like, oh, okay, he being clueless. But Jackie is like, yeah. So
And
enough was
Carlton told him this was a bad idea. And I was a
enough.
little frustrated with Will for kind of being like so absent-minded and not seeing how sensitive the situation was. Like, I think he was thinking it was real innocent, and it might have started off that way, but at some point he should have set maybe a boundary with Jackie and told her, like, nah, I'm gonna rock with Lisa for a little bit, or we're gonna do our own thing or something like that.
Exactly. And but he probably figured that he didn't have to, because a lot of times when they like we're not officially together, so I don't think I have to say this because she's not my girl. We're taking it, but she's not my girl. So he probably didn't think. He's like, I officially I'm not with either one of them. So he probably didn't think he had to explain himself. But you got to be sensitive to other people's feelings, especially you dealing
Mm-hmm.
with both of them. They both been intimate with you and stuff, and so yeah, so you can't play these games. People get hurt.
Yeah,
People get
yeah.
hurt.
Let this be a cautionary tale for the viewers out there. Don't play
For
them
the
type
people
of
at home,
games.
stop playing games.
So, they kind of, at the event where they're trying to save Jazz's business, they see him like on the verge of selling his car, his prized possession. And I was like, oh man, that's like one of the last few things he got to hold on to. And I was hoping he wouldn't have to sell his car.
Me too.
And
Me too.
Will and Carlton actually really came through for him, thanks to Amira loaning them her car. And so they have this street race to which they
Fast,
actually end up winning. And
Fast and
there was,
Furious.
yeah, for real, $35,000 on the line. I'm like, these kids really got it. I mean, to be making them type of bets.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm,
I was glad to. I really enjoyed the scene and the filmography of everything, and seeing how they really kind of work together, Carlton and Will, to make decisions as they're driving. I was like, okay, that was a cool little bonding moment for them. But they ended up winning for Jazz too, and so it solved his problem, or at least
mm-hmm.
some of it. I don't know how bad into debt Jazz is, but hopefully 30K can cover a lot.
Yeah, he said that it would put a dent in it and stuff, and he won 35K with
Mm-hmm.
the race and stuff. So you see,
Yeah.
he was on bended knee. He was like, so
Yeah, because
I
it was looking
definitely say,
shaky for a second when they got derailed and had to come up with a detour.
I listen. I was concerned because Will got in the driver's seat, and at first I was expecting Carlton, because it seems like Carlton was the one who had the knowledge of the cars.
Yep.
But they were able to work together as a team, like you said, since Carlton coached him through the
Mm-hmm.
drive.
Yeah. Yeah, but here come Frederick messing stuff up.
Yeah,
So
he deserves the hands. He definitely was on my hands list
absolutely.
because he was.
Because what he's doing is basically snaking people out of their money. And people not about to play with you out in LA. Like, yeah, this is the bougie kind of side of town. But when you start going to car shows and stuff like that in the neighborhood, you get a mix of people up in there, and you don't know who you might run into that you didn't, shook down for their money.
And then
So
he
old boy was not playing with him.
no, he wasn't. And then he was listening to he made it look like it was Will and Carlton too when Jeffrey came. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, and he told him, because when they were going to snitch him, and he was like, well, make sure you speak up and let him know that you were street racing too. But
Yep.
he made it seem like the situation, like he helped them out of the situation. So I was like, oh, this dude is bad news.
He's a snake for real. And I think they see that now. And especially with Will hearing that conversation from the previous episode of like what he's trying to do with Jeffrey, I think they are on high alert. And now that they see that he has this kind of like real like snaky side to him, I think they are kind of treading on some dangerous territory. They really need to speak up to Jeffrey and let him know, because Jeffrey is a lot more stealthy than them, and he's definitely the enforcement here.
Yeah,
So
he is.
they need to call in a pro.
Yeah, and and hopefully Jeffrey will believe them because this is his son they talking about. And
Yeah.
he's trying to protect them and he's trying to build this bond and make up for the lost time they have. But
Hmm.
he gonna end up realizing that his son isn't who he thinks he is.
Yeah, and they also caught him going through like the paperwork in the office and whatnot. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
so what is he doing? And now he also is working for Uncle Phil's law firm. I'm like, they just doing too much,
Yeah.
welcoming him in with open arms and not really vetting this dude.
Yeah. Yeah. He's shady.
So that's a hot mess. Frederick is on the hands list for
For
sure.
sure. For sure.
And so speaking of, kind of a snaky situation. Hillary, I think she realized that she was being a little two-sided with her dealings with Jazz. We kind of talked about that in the last episode, but she is unsure about her engagement with LaMarcus. I mean, that was very clear from the conversation that she had at the table where her mom was talking about venues and stuff like that. She did not look like she didn't show the excitement that somebody who was happy
Yeah.
to be engaged would show.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, yeah, this ain't going down. And
No.
towards the end of the episode, she kind of goes to see LaMarcus at practice, and she has intentions of revealing to him what happened with Jazz.
I had so many issues with that. I was like, in what world would you think it would be okay to go to this man's practice before a game and drop some news like that on him? I was
Exactly.
like, he deserved the hands for that. I was like, so you gonna mess this man's head up by telling him this at his place of business? He's great player.
Exactly.
I was like, that that's a dumb idea, and I thought she should get the hands for that.
I think so too. And it's like, what were your intentions of? Are you telling him just to tell him to clean your own conscience? Or do you actually have intentions of sorting your feelings with Jazz and really deciding, like, I'm not going to be with him, I'm going to marry you? Like, it doesn't seem like she found any resolve before she decided that she was going to reveal this stuff to him.
I think her conscience is bothering her, and I think she was going to tell him because Ashley said something. Especially
Mm-hmm.
Ashley said, "I
Yeah.
saw you." And
Mm-hmm.
are you gonna tell your fiance and stuff? So I think she probably felt like she had to tell him. Not that Ashley was gonna
Mm-hmm.
tell on her because that's her sister, but I think her conscience was bothering her enough that she was gonna tell him. But I was like, if you are gonna tell him, you don't come to the football field before this man's game and tell him.
Yeah, I mean, that is his workplace. Like, you got to view it
Yeah,
just like you pulling up to his job and dropping this bomb on him.
exactly.
That, yeah, she's
So it
nuts
was
for
just
that.
like, yeah, it was just like that's dumb.
Yeah, and unfortunately, something terrible ends up. He gets tackled a little too hard, and he seemed like he was fine for a second. So I was like, whew. But then he kind of like collapsed and fell to his
Yeah,
knees. And I was like, oh, here we go. They were
here we
just talking
go.
about how he was this big prospect and he had so much attention, and people are really uh, saying that he's going to be the next this and that. And then this happens. So
Yeah,
we know that in the league, the CTE thing and all of the, wear and tear, that's a really short lived career. It
mm,
might be all good now. And I don't know if Hillary, like you said, is just chasing the image, but if she is, it's going to seem real terrible for her to break up with LaMarcus on the verge of
that's
his injury.
that's why
I'm
I
like,
think
she's going to look like a gold digger for real.
I think she's gonna end up prolonging. She's not gonna tell him now because she's gonna be
Yeah.
like, well, now I can't say anything because he has this injury, this, that, and the
Yep.
other. She's gonna prolong letting him know.
Yep.
Watch.
She's going to stay out of guilt. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, her feelings for Jazz, it's just it can't be ignored. And I feel like they're going to have another run in, and that kiss was just like reigniting things. Like she clearly wanted to take things further, but she caught herself. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, she needs to really figure out what she wants for herself. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that being young is a part of it, and you don't really know what you want for yourself. It's a part of youth. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, you talking about getting married, like that's a major decision. And you don't take that lightly, and you don't do it just because of the image of being with this person, or trying to get over the last person.
Mm-hmm.
So Hillary gotta get together. She's on the
Yes,
hands list.
sure, for sure. Her and Frederick.
Mm-hmm. And Uncle Phil got found out this episode. And you kind of hinted at it already when we were talking about episode 2, but Viv picked up on a lot of his signals, talking about the new work that he was pursuing and stuff like that. And her wheels got to turning, and then she goes and has this conversation with Erica about like her dodging her and whatnot, and truth comes out. So I'm thinking from now, this is kind of a betrayal to Aunt Viv. She's looking at him crazy, like, you did this, and not only did you do it, you told this chick not to tell you, want to keep it a secret instead of like just bringing it to me, because you already have a history with this woman. She's already my enemy, and then this kiss happens, and then on top of that, y'all were going to lie to me and keep it a secret. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, that
violated. He
and
violated,
on,
and he
and
knew
they
he
were
violated.
already having marital issues with the lack of intimacy and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it really doesn't help their situation. They yelling and screaming in front of the kids. It's like, yeah, this is not looking
Mm-hmm.
good for them.
Mm-hmm. And then Carlton overhearing his name and stuff, I was like, he could be thinking
Yep.
that he could be the cause, and that could also push him to relapse.
Exactly. And I'm also thinking with Aunt Viv receiving all of this attention from the chef, that she might
Mm-hmm.
even be tempted to, do her own thing on the side.
And Uncle Phil peeped it too, because when she sent the flowers, he was like, "Well, why he just thank you and didn't thank me? Like he only thanked you in the cards." I was like, "Oh
Here we
Lord,
go.
uh-huh, there we go." So I was like, both of them are going to be side eyeing each other.
Yeah. And so it's just like a lot going on with these relationships in this show. I'm like, you think that they are very intelligent people, they very put together, but they do some of the most nonsensical things. It's like stuff that you think that grown folks would come to each other, married people. Y'all got years behind y'all. Y'all been in this for your kids are almost grown, and this kind of mess is still happening. Like y'all too late in the game for the nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm worried about where their relationship will stand.
I am too. I am too. I'm
And
definitely.
I'm worried about Ashley as well, because her
Mm-hmm.
little poem that she recited for her friend, and she continues to go on this theme of, the fake image that her family puts out there.
Mm-hmm.
I worry for her, especially if her parents start having these, arguments and this long drawn out feuding between them over the infidel. Well, I won't say infidel. I don't know if some people consider that infidelity, a kiss, but over the
Well,
betrayal that
yeah,
he's
I mean, kissing somebody other than your spouse, that is an infidelity. It may not be sex, but
right.
it's an infidelity. Yeah.
So I'm like, poor Ashley. She gets the brunt of everybody's problems in the house. And she's so young and she's impressionable, and she's already frustrated with her family and how they put on fronts. So I'm hoping that she doesn't spiral out of control and start acting out and rebelling and stuff like that. And I thought it was cute that Hillary tried to, take her out on the sister date or whatever, but Hillary got her own problems, and I'm like, somebody else got to have an eye on Ashley.
Yeah, they all need to, because as you said, she's concerned about the family being so focused on that image, but she's also still struggling like with her sexuality and stuff
Mm-hmm.
too, and
Yep.
stuff. So it's all these different things. It's the that it's the family problems and the adjustments. Just her being, because I'm like, how old is Ashley now? She 13 or something? Like
Yeah,
she's yeah,
not
she
quite
yeah,
high school yet, maybe 12.
yeah, right. So she's like a preteen, teenager and stuff. So that's like a pivotal age.
Mm-hmm.
That transition to being a teenager from being a preteen and getting ready to go to high school and stuff. So with all the turmoil going on around her with her family, and then she's dealing with, her own growing pains and then her
Mm-hmm.
sexuality and stuff like that too. So
Yeah. And I'm just worried that she's gonna fall through the cracks. Like they don't pay much attention to her as it is. So I'm like, this poor girl is gonna be spiraling. Maybe nobody even notices.
are you seeing the theme, like, like with BMF, like with Nicole? Nicole said that. Like she was just like, y'all worrying about this, me, Terry, and them, everybody,
Yep.
mom, everybody has stuff going on. And then she basically unleashed on them at the dinner table because of
Yep.
her own stuff. So I was just like, I can see Ashley having a moment like that.
Yes. She gonna have a drop the mic moment.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm worried for that family. And now with Aunt Viv obviously having this stalker too, and I'm like, she's intrigued by the artwork, but Aunt Viv also doesn't understand the dangers of like having a social media stalker, somebody who has an obsession with you and stuff like that. Like she really is not that tech savvy. Hillary had to block the girl for her and whatnot, and the assistant had to come in and show her some things on social media. So I'm like, Aunt Viv really don't know what she getting herself into trying to
Um,
meet this person.
mm,
So they just keep introducing problems into the family, and I'm like, I really hope that they can sustain through all of this and figure out a way to kind of tame some of these fires they got going on everywhere.
mhm.
Um, so that's pretty much the gist of what I got. Is there anything you wanted to kind of comment on from either of these episodes?
No, I think I spoke on what I wanted to, especially with the
Mm-hmm.
Lisa and the Jackie thing and what we said about a mirror. I'm like, okay, mirror, I'm watching you.
Yeah.
I'm watching you. And
Yep.
and then this whole thing with Viv and Uncle Phil, we'll see how they end up.
Yeah. And so we had a lot of people on the hands list. I think I'm also gonna give Uncle Phil the hands for withholding that secret and
Yeah,
trying to just sweep over it.
I think so. I think so. I definitely think he deserves that because I'm like, and then he just was like, "Oh, Erica told you." Oh, that would have incensed me right there.
Yep.
That was up there, like, oh, and so you automatically like, without her even saying what was wrong, he's
He
picked
already
up, he read the room and was like, "Oh, you talked to Erica. Erica told you." That for me, I would have gone off. I would have gone.
yes. Yeah, so Uncle Phil gets the hands. We
Yep.
gave Frederick the hands.
Yeah, he deserves a hand.
What's her name? Amira got the
Amir,
hands.
Amir deserves a hand. Hillary
Yeah,
deserves a hands for trying to tell
Hillary.
that he
Yeah,
got the
so
football before he played football. Nuh-uh.
yep. And in the first episode, we gave Carlton's classmate and his father the hands.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our hands list is long this week. Now, is there
Yeah.
anybody that you would like to give the game ball to?
Well, I think Will and Carlton both can get it for winning the race and saving the
Yep.
day for Jazz. And also, at least we didn't give them the game ball last episode, but we probably should for coming up with the theme, for
Mm,
the plan to pitch to Quentin. And that
yeah.
they ended up getting the slot for his program.
Yep.
So I think both episodes they deserve the hand. The game
The
ball.
game ball. Okay. Yep. I agree with both of those. So I'm rocking with you on that one.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying this season so far. We're 3 episodes in. Episode 4 will be coming out shortly, so we'll have another recap for that on the way. Just make sure you guys are tapped into our channel. Make sure you subscribe, click that like button as well as the notification bell. And also drop down in the comment section and give us your thoughts about the episode and any predictions you have. We are also on social media at The Spot Real Talk on all major platforms. So give us a follow there. Make sure you are tapped in with us. We really have some great content coming, and we always try to keep things exciting by, trying to reach out to cast for interviews and whatnot. So we'll see what we can get for this season of Bel Air. But, we're excited and we're enjoying it so far. And hopefully next time we'll have Ron back with us too. So he is recovering from his vacay, which I'm not mad. I wish he could have took me with him.
Me too.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say before we close out, Tiff?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, on that note, we are going to call it a night. Thank you all so much for watching, and make sure you're back next time for a recap of episode 4. Night.
Night.